My daughter is refusing to talk to me because I won't buy her a new car. My daughter Casey, 17 female, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy her with our family budget. My other daughter Alana, 16 female, has ADHD, recently got her driver's license and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg. There was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't exist and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for her school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we could just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe ADHD and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn the money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not going to speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced. I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm on our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but as a parent, I need to look out for all my children, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work even if what you're asking for is unreasonable.
Mother's post. I, 39 female, and my husband, 43 male, have 2 daughters, 16 who we'll call A and 17 who I'll call C. C has held down a steady job for over a year now and was able to get herself a car now. She got this car right as it passed her own driver's test, so there was a little issue between who was going to be driving. After a little persuasion, C did allow A to use her car, so long as somebody else paid for gas. We told her that wasn't going to cut it. A doesn't have the money for that, and it's her car. Her responsibility to keep gas in it and keep it on the road. Here's where it gets difficult. A wrecked about a month ago. Luckily, she was fine aside from a broken wrist and a mild concussion, but C was fuming the entire time and seemed to have this expectation that we would be replacing her car. Her and my husband got into it, and she threw her arms up like a child and just stopped speaking to us. We coaxed her into going to family therapy with us, though it wasn't productive, as she and the therapist agreed that it'd be best to maintain the reduced contact until she's paid back. Here's the problem. That car was 15 grand. She saved up every penny for a year for that car. She'd ask us about twice a week if we changed our mind, and obviously the answer was no, but that was the only thing she'd say to us. It didn't seem to bother my husband, and he kept saying she'll get over it, until last week she packed some things and had my mother come and get her. She's been staying at her grandmother's for a little over a week now, and she gave me a good earful. Whatever C told her worked, because earlier today, my husband and I were informed we had 30 days to replace the car in full, or she was taking us to court. I think my husband is admirable in wanting to stand his ground, but the way I'm looking at it, we have 2 options, and I am sick of my daughter not talking to me because of shit that is not my fault. A has been a wreck. She's already battling severe ADHD, and now she's shaking at the thought of having to appear in court. So I sat them both down and said we have 2 options. We can suck it up, pay $15,000 and have our daughter and sister back, and we'll just have to buck up and work. Or we can let my dad sue my husband and I on C's behalf, and almost certainly lose. We spoke to 4 different firms, and all 4 echoed similar sentiment, that it would probably cost us close to triple in the end, to bring it to court and fight it there. So that's when I told my husband that I am not going 30 grand further into debt for him to hold the pettiest grudge. He's saying that I'm being manipulative by holding this whole situation over his and A's heads. I'm not saying it's not part my fault. All I said was that no matter what, at the end of the day, we owe C, and he needs to just accept that. We can afford $15,000 to replace the car, but if we have to dish out double that, just to lose in court anyway, I'm divorcing him before he makes that mistake. In either case, I'm done not supporting both of my daughters. We've tried reasoning with C, and it has resulted in nothing. We lost this one. I feel I may be the a-hole, just for how long I was being a passenger, no pun intended, in the situation, and for threatening my husband with divorce. I don't think we did anything that wrong, but I'm willing to admit when we made some mistakes and we have to make up for it somehow. Update. 21 days later. It's been a few weeks since I last updated, and I want to start out by addressing a few things that opened my eyes a little bit in regards to this situation. The first thing being my husband's post, which came well before my own. He and I fought over that. I truthfully didn't love that he used real names. However, when I found out he posted, for the sake of transparency, I used real names as well. But, with that being said, I went through with the difficult decision to serve him divorce papers. To really abbreviate things, I went to therapy as lots of you suggested, and I was assessed with a diagnosis for an obsessive-compulsive disorder in my second session. And in my third session, we discussed the whole car situation, and my personal therapist explained it to me in a way that made it hard to not feel awful for Casey. The discussion, we had covered quite a lot, but the common denominator in everything that's been going wrong has, in large part, been my husband. He's the reason Casey shared her car. He's the reason Alana got hurt driving on her own, and he's the reason we're set for court in barely a week and still don't have an attorney. And me. I don't know what I've been doing, but it hasn't been being a mother, if I'm honest. One of you asked me straight up why I was being a passenger, and I just don't have a good answer. I let my parents know about the divorce and they were a little concerned, but what I didn't expect was for Casey to reach out. The last time we talked was mostly her and my husband butting heads. I really thought she was about to turn me on a spit, but I've never heard her cry like that. At least not since she was much younger. I make a little bit more than my husband, but finding an apartment was brutal. Especially with Alana wanting to come with me. I don't think I was clear enough about how badly I want to pay Case back before, but I do. Most of my money is in joint savings though, so there isn't much I can afford, but my husband wasn't going to back down. I won't lie, I was selfish. I begged Casey to drop my name from this suit. I told her I would pay what I could afford to right this second, which wasn't much in comparison, and she told me that it wasn't so much the car or the value on its own she wanted back. It was the security to have something of her own. And she listed off probably dozens of instances where Alana got first pick over her, and it was very hard to refute. She told me that losing that much money sucked, which I fully understand. But the bigger loss to her was that her first big girl purchase, which a lot of friends and family were excited about, was now going to be remembered as a family-ending disaster. She told me that she knows I can't replace that. We agreed to breakfast next week and joint therapy, us two, and her only condition was that I don't try at any point to save him from the suit, which I agreed to. Alana came to me even before my last post, saying she only drove so far because my now ex-husband pressured her into picking up the grocery order early for something he wanted to make. This also changed my perspective. I was under the impression that she was doing her own thing, but even my husband owned up to that, which ground my gears. But I put it together. Illegal driver in an expensive car, not insured, and under pressure? Alana drove, but I've come to realize that my ex-husband seems to have a tendency to like to pressure people. He's pressured me a lot too. He probably pressured Casey into letting Alana drive at all, which brings me back to her, and we finished our talk with better terms. I owe her so much more than breakfast out, but I'm just beyond grateful she's even willing to look at me. I've seen a lot of bold assumptions that I hate Case, and that I vastly favor Alana, but I only feel the second part was ever accurate. I've never hated my own daughter. I was frustrated with her over something I've come to realize wasn't her fault. As of now, I'm just adjusting to a much quieter place, and to my phone buzzing nonstop. I've only been moved out for 5 days, and Alana has seemed so much less anxious, to me at least. It's odd because my place now isn't anywhere near what the house is. But I think last night was probably the first time I've slept 8 hours since high school. Today was productive. And for Casey. I'll admit it. I hope she wins. I hope she gets her car and then some. As for the divorce, I don't want much material. I won't say no to it. I'd rather just have my share of joint savings and try to tackle my own issues, of which I guess I have more than I would have been willing to admit a month ago. I know I'm going to get pelted most likely, but I want you to know I'm thankful. The internet is mean, but it tells the truth, and however this turns out, it's largely your comments that helped me see what I was doing wrong. And who was enabling those things. And most importantly, how I could stop it. It's times like this where my dad would tell me I'm not lucky, I'm privileged, and I think that applies here. I'm privileged that my daughter didn't just laugh, even though she could and arguably should have. That's the update. I'll update whenever Case and I meet, barring she's comfortable with it. And then you probably won't hear from me until the whole suit and divorce is over and done with. I just wanted Reddit to know, I hear you all. And I wish I could have seen reason when I first posted. I'm frustrated reading my own comments. Therapy is a powerful thing. Relevant comments. You're a sociopath. You are an irrefutable failure of a mother, even after this update. Still, even if you do learn from your mistakes, you are blatantly refusing accountability of your own actions and opinions, and using your husband as a scapegoat. You refused any responsibility in your first post, and you're taking 5 Skittles worth of responsibility now. You truly are a pathetic shell of a mother. Your husband is worse. But you are not absolved of responsibility for the trauma you caused your daughter. You may not hate her, you might even kind of love her, but you surely do not fucking love anybody more than yourself. Alana is still the most important of your children. You don't care about Casey. Alana, and more Alana.